We will effectively pick up inside of a sort of gray area narrative. Yeah, as far as things go, you all have effectively gone to and left the island of Arl that floats through the sea of moving ice. Having visited and found yourselves worthy, you have taken away the codicil. Among things that you all will share is maybe not that in next morning, but at some point when Angajuk comes up for air, you all will see the sun rise and pass through the sky over Icewind Dale for the first time in many years. The winds, the ice, the cold are still there, but they're all lessened. Um, Even in the first night away, you all would indeed be visited by dreams and nightmares of Arl. Kind of in the same way that I explained it to you a little earlier, Justin. It's almost kind of like a like bad breakup, like person with a broken heart who's like reaching out to you. Um, for the two of you, your memories would be of her calling you her children. For Don, Fen might remember. No, Fen doesn't dream. Um, yeah, so for the two of you, you all would have these dreams and nightmares over the next few nights where Arl seems to visit you, seems to almost like lambast you with all of these different kind of like emotive images, these powerful emotions that capture you, actual language that is used to chastise you. And it almost has this kind of like bipolar aspect of at times she's speaking to you almost like a champion. At times you're feeling emotions almost like love, and at other times you're feeling kind of hatreds, as well as like extreme pain kind of coming through from this connection to Arl. Among the recognitions, I didn't actually roll to see, but let me get a d10 from each of you. The person who throws it first is the tens position. Oh wait, you can't throw right now, right, Rashad? My
I
bad.
cannot.
Psych. So 53. I would say you two would both at some point dream of a young baby rock and basically be given the information that while you've killed her rock, while you have ended the rhyme for now, Arl is going to do it again. And will you rise then? Will you come back to finish the job? Something is effectively untreated by how you've gone about it. Um, if you're waiting for the age of the rock, it might be beyond the age of a man. If you're so in the long run, like this is the type of thing where it's almost like pass down a generation. Prepare yourself because somebody's going to have to rise and stand before this goddess once again and fight her off. That recognition that Arl is not defeated is going to be among the things that are lasting memories from your trip back home through the Sea of Moving Ice. Um, Maybe not so much back home, but back towards Ten Towns. That's one of the big things for you all to take away. Uh, Among the things that is least for the two of you on some level, depending on when you decide to do it, I have assumed that at some point each of you takes the time to copy one of the spells, one of the incantations, Frost Fingers, from within the Codicil of the White. Um, Valine herself would be very inclined to get a hold of that spell. Um, I don't know. Is she in enough favor with you all where you would let her take some time to copy that spell?
I think Brannick would allow her to keep a very close eye. Like he's not going to let the codicil out of kind of his sight, so he'd kind of be standing right there, almost like for the entire hour or however long it would take her to copy it. But he will let her, after he does it himself and lets Felix, and Felixis does it, kind of be third in line. But he would not oppose her learning it herself.
But Alexis doesn't have an issue with her learning it. She is kind of worried because of the incident with Nas. So she's kind of in the same boat to kind of just watch her closely just to make sure she's all right and nothing else happens. But other than that, she's okay with her copying it. She knows how valuable spells are to wizards. So
And one other thing I wanted to mention too, Brannick would kind of be emphasizing to both like Lean and Velixis and Fen, like, don't we shouldn't tell anybody that we have this. Like if anyone asks like about the sudden reappearance of the sun and such, essentially play ignorant, but Brannick doesn't want to let anyone know that we have this. And you can just kind of see like even like on the trip back, like even while we're on Angajuk and such, like Brannick is um seems more paranoid than he has been in the past, like kind of like almost like starting and ever noises and things like that.
that's probably a good idea for the time being. Who knows who else is looking for this thing, or who else may or may not know of it. So keeping it safe might be a good, being the best bet. Keeping it secret would definitely be the best bet for right now.
Are you pretty open with your findings about the contents of it as you go through and find them? Does Rashad or Fen or Valine gain an understanding of what is inside of the book?
I think Brannick will want to essentially limit the lean to the spell. Um, he'll almost try and play some like he doesn't, it's going to take him some time to figure out the other. He just kind of stumbled across this part, and similarly, kind of like while she's doing the spell, like that's part of the reason too he's watching. He doesn't want her kind of flipping through it. Um, for Felixis, I think Brannick will be more. Mm,
But let's just kind of stand at Brennick's back and kind of whispers to him, "You're not going to try to keep secrets from me from this book, are you?"
yeah, he'll definitely be hesitant. It'll probably take some convincing, but I think eventually, yeah, he will let Velixis and um, Fen, if Fen is interested, um, in taking kind of a more thorough look at what's inside. But he's definitely not his first inclination to share it, but and I don't know if it's something Fen would actually be one to look at, or if he's kind of like, no, leave it well enough alone. Magic. It's not.
I have a feeling when we talk to Don, he's probably not going to care. So, I think you're going to find at least a little bit of cautious prodding from Valine. Perhaps more along the lines of questioning why you don't trust her. Perhaps trying to be a little bit more clear that she still has no memory of the times that you all spent in the latter half of the island of Aro. Um, and more or less making an appeal to the idea that she's working with you all, and you all are working against her. If you expect me to be so forthright with what I know, and she'll look over to her orb, Professor Scant, and kind of keep him from speaking. And what Scant knows as well. Perhaps we will find more room to trust one another. Otherwise, if you need to find the city of Yithrin, perhaps you would be okay to do that on your own as well. And she's going to cross her arms. And at this point, she'll withhold the location of Yithrin from you.
So once it becomes kind of clearer to Brannick that you know, they each have something the other wants, he will be he'll try to play it off almost like, we wanted to make sure that, till we know that Knots is, gone for good. Even though he suspects that's the case, but he's trying to essentially use that as an excuse. But then once she it kind of gets more obstinate about the sharing the location, Brannick will relent and still not doesn't want to leave her alone with it, but will let her kind of peruse it more at her leisure.
Perhaps we can lay things to rest if we are able to seek out and find a cleric. I remember there were two within Brinjandar. Perhaps one or each of them has survived. And if we are able to find someone who would be willing to expend their god's favor, I can cleanse myself and prove to you that she is no longer present.
Brannick will consider that and then kind of after a few moments nod and um, I suppose a quick trip back to Shindar to see if something like that it would ease our minds. I'm sure. As I've no objection to that. And then he'll like turn to Velixis. Any and you, Velixis?
That definitely sounds good. Make sure that Nos is no longer present.
So she'll just kind of restate that same idea, effectively um, allowing it to rest with I don't even really think you guys are copying the spell on your way back to town, kind of thing. It's not that many hours of actual time you guys need, but she'll kind of let it rest. She won't do anything or ask again for the codicil. You guys can head for Bryn Shindar and maybe find a little bit more room to be partners after you guys have a cleric who uses a restoration spell to kind of prove that she is her own self. Um, More or less, that gives you all a initial location where you might be heading back to. Do you all have any thoughts on kind of initial progress when you are leaving the Sea of Moving Ice? Would you look to head directly for Bremen, directly for Lonelywood? Do you want to go directly to Bryn Shindar? What sort of thoughts do you all have, like on your initial kind of moving away from the Sea of Moving Ice?
Brennick is thinking. I mean, we knew that most people were headed to Bryn Shindar even before the attack, and if there were any, people outside it, they, presumably would be trying to gather there as well. So his thought is to just try and head as directly for Bryn Shindar as we can, which probably means trying to head towards Bremen and then kind of maybe passing through Targos to Bryn Shindar once we hit Bremen and can get onto the roads.
But Melissa will be okay with this because she kind of wants, once she gets to town, she wants to, where everyone was at, she wants to not only make sure to check and see how many people survive, of course, check and see how everyone, make sure that those people are right. She also wants to check and see if anyone knows of or anything about the kobolds that they had originally ran into before, to see if anyone knows where they may be or not.
Alright. I'm gonna go ahead and point out to you, if you want to look into where kobolds are, you've got to give me more context to them. As far as I am concerned, kobolds are not a player race inside of this world, and kobolds are looked at like bunny rabbits. You might point at a kobold, but the next time you see a kobold that looks like that could be 17 generations of kobold later. People don't know what a kobold is other than it's something that you kill when they're hostile.
Okay, okay, okay. All right, so
Like
okay,
in general, if you want kobolds to be a bigger part of the story, you've got to let me know these things like ahead of time, because the kobolds are simply little know nothing. I think I've had kobolds enter Bryn Shindar. I think I've had kobolds enter Tourmaline. But like in general, kobolds are a random encounter because they are enemies.
right, okay,
It's the same thing as like seeing an orc. Most people, if they see an orc, they are going to kill it. Most people, if they see a kobold, they are going to kill it because that is the safe thing to do. That's why I think this group saw three kobolds sneak into Bryn Shindar because they were doing three kobolds in a trench coat.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so like little things like that, that is like their whole story. If a kobold can sneak into a town, they are probably living life fat, but they live like rats. They hide. They are not like social, not in most of these places. Kobolds live in kobold settlements next to dragons.
okay. So I would have to actually search them out myself if I want to see them.
Well, it's also just kind of the general idea. That's one of those things like let me know these things ahead of time, because yeah, kobolds in general are not going to be a part of these stories. Not by like everybody else's standards. Kobolds are still an enemy of most civilizations because they tend to follow dragons. But yeah, like that is effectively, if nobody knows where the kobolds are, they're doing something correctly. If people know where the kobolds are, like if you ask a person where the kobolds are, that probably means those kobolds are in prison.
You know what? Yeah, that makes sense.
Now, with that in mind, I do believe this group negotiated for. No, I think that was my other group negotiated for the kobolds to be joined up in Termaline.
Yeah, that's. I think I did send you that a message about that about having the kobolds become my servants or whatnot.
The message you
Something.
sent me at 4 o'clock in the morning this morning.
I am so fucking sorry. I meant to send that earlier, but I forgot, and I was like, "Oh shit, I need to send this to him." And I sent it. And I was like, "Oh, it's 4 o'clock in the morning." I am so sorry about that. I am.
So I'm pretty sure I got a message at 2:52 because I woke up 3 in the morning. And then I was going to bed and I woke back up at about 4 in the morning and I noticed I had another message. Pretty sure I woke up for each of those. But no, I meant for information to come well ahead of like the day of the actual game. I took a look at that. I think in the long run, Kalimvor is a better god than you might be thinking because what a god represents is one thing. It doesn't mean all of their followers are very strict, and also for clerics, you are not a fanatic. A paladin of Kalimvor might be far more fanatical and kind of like it's either black or it's white. But I think a cleric of Kalimvor can see a lot more gray area and disagree a lot more with what Kalimvor is, but still be a follower of Kalimvor. But Kalimvor is effectively the death god of the Forgotten Realms. Um, but yeah, like coming back towards these places. So again, I think you would find kind of that same idea that tends to be asking about where kobolds are is going to be more alarmist and almost bring up humans into thinking like they have kobold infestations. And I think you'll kind of notice like on some level that needs to be like a clandestine thing because you're blowing up their spot if anybody knows that they exist there. I think walking into Bremen, you all will find a few people who are actually like the spearhead of setting back up and rebuilding. Probably at this point, you essentially have people who are taking like burnt, charred, and destroyed remains and turning them probably first into like hovels where you're just getting walls at first and then you're starting to actually create something that actually resembles a house, probably well after you guys come through. And I think that'll be the general state. As far as 10 towns goes, I think a little bit over 90% of the population is destroyed. Um, I think it leaves us with there's about, I think like 700 people left in 10 towns. And Bryn Shindar used to have, I think, 3,500 people. Um, but in general, 10 towns is effectively eradicated here. I feel like there were other questions, but that's one of the things. Like in general, if you guys have like one or two things, roll those at me, and then we'll kind of continue on from there. But those are the things that I can think of. Like when you go through Bremen, Targos, Bryn Shindar, you'll see Bremen has probably like two or three people maybe who have crossed the river and are starting to rebuild. I think it's only like a 10-day after the dragon still. Um, you'll have Targos, kind of similar situation. Would you guys go into Targos?
So Targos had essentially, if I recall, they had essentially tried to stand alone almost, right? Like they were um they were a little bit better defended, they thought, against the dragon, and they're a bigger kind of walled place. Um
Targos is one of the two places with a wall. Targos is one of the two places with a large standing army. So yeah, they were a little bit more prepared to actually try to stand and fight the dragon. but they would find that it was all in vain. I believe you all got to Targos while the sheriff was actually in kind of a final battle with the dragon. Targos itself was pretty much demolished at that point, including all of their different siege warfare. They had plenty of ballistas and things for attacking something like a dragon. Um, Walls don't really offer much defense against the dragon, but it does tend to go hand in hand with a wall. Is almost like a manifold expansion of their military force. So I think Bryn Shindar had like 1,200 soldiers, and I think Targos had like 700 soldiers, where some of the other places you're talking about like 50 soldiers. And I think that's one of the things that almost goes hand in hand with the wall is that like by the time they have a massive defensive wall, they probably also have a massive military because it's almost like the same budget goes into supporting the two. If you've got extra money to support people, you probably also had extra money to have them build something that's incredibly strategically defensive, if that kind of makes sense. Um, but yeah, Targos. Well, yeah, I guess that answers it to where you can decide whether you would have gone there.
Yes, I mean, Brannick has no particular reason for stopping there, um, but he would, if Alexis wanted to go there for some reason, he'd not be opposed.
Mm, nothing that she can think of. She's not. She doesn't have any idea or reason why she might go there.
Yeah, so I think we would kind of just continue on towards Bryn Shindar.
Gotcha. Making it into Bryn Shindar, you'll still see plenty of the destruction. You'll still see plenty of signs of people kind of making do with what they have, and kind of banding together to almost many people are kind of surviving in just almost like one walled shelters. There's kind of a large sort of return to very primitive living. Bryn Shindar would be in a pretty horrible state simply because they have people from all across 10 towns still. There are still many people who are injured near fatally and kind of recovering. But in general, Bryn Shindar is on the way up, but their kind of refugee situation kind of puts them against the wall. Um, let's go for Brandick. Will you roll a D100 for me? So I think we will find that the two clerics are both dead, slain in the battle. Um, Trying to think of their names. Copper, and I don't even know if the other one was ever good enough that I even said their name in this group. Copper and Michon.
If their bodies are nearby, and we see that they're dead, Felixus, Lieutenant Brennick, while they declare to
Hold
her,
on. If you want bodies, you can have bodies. But as far as this goes, this is like 20 days later. I don't have the exact count when you guys were in here, but you guys were gone for at least like 10 days, I think, getting to. I think you're looking at like 20, 25 days gone. So if you're not just going to see the body here, but if you want to start harvesting bodies, you can definitely harvest bodies.
I mean, I was thinking we'd be kind of looking for them, figuring that if they had survived, they'd be trying to tend to some of the wounded, and then not seeing them, because there's considerably fewer people left now, so it would be too hard essentially, go and search and then not seeing them, start maybe asking around and then find maybe somebody saw them fall or something, like one of the survivors or something like that, more than that we like stumble across their
Well,
corpses.
100% what I was thinking is that you guys would hear stories about them effectively saving people while the dragon was flying overhead. And effectively, you would come to the conclusion that each of them fell, saving just one more person. Very much like the story of that like a soldier in like the Eastern Campaign World War II, no Korea, like climbed up the net, and his whole thing, maybe it was World War II, was always like one more, and he like climbed into the battlefield, came out with another guy wounded, went back in. But what was your actual thought here, Rashad? Are you looking to start your army?
Um, she was actually going to suggest, but Melissa was thinking if they help bury the dead, since they essentially didn't stay, if they were to take care of the clerics, then the clerics god may show a favor to grant one a favor, small favor, which we could use to see if Nas is still around. She honestly, the thought would pass through Felix's mind to take an ear, but she doesn't want to piss off the god of a cleric, especially two that just sacrificed their lives saving people. When her and her friends uh, essentially dipped out on everyone, she doesn't want to risk that kind of wrath on her. So no, she would not do that.
What kind of shit did Valixis just go through? You went from not wanting to hurt people to you're about to take an ear from these people?
No, she thought about it, and she was because the way her mind went just now was this is two healers that she could probably use, but now she's like, wait, nah, this will be bad, and quite frankly, she doesn't want to she does not want to incur the wrath of a god that whose followers essentially sacrifice their lives. Yeah, she's her mental state and everything, like she's it's wavering back and forth because essentially she was fully good aligned. Now she's kind of teetering a little bit towards almost neutral, but not quite there yet. Which is why she's took the classes of the death cleric.
Death clerics don't have to be psychotic.
Oh yeah, I know, but Valixis is getting there. I wouldn't say she's psychotic. Just more along the lines with the body parts of other creatures and everything else. She kind of just wants to collect them, and of course for her army and everything, for her allies, for when she needs to use it and everything. But aside from that, though, nah, she's not. She's kind. I guess she would be kind of going crazy here and then, but not entirely. Not entirely. She's holding her composure.
Um, so Brannick will kind of, once we find out that the clerics are dead, he'll maybe suggest to Valine there may be another way if you will permit me to um, probe into your mind a bit, see if we detect any traces of Nus's personality remaining. Submit to some questions, and if I'm satisfied, be on our way. Essentially, he's asking her if she'll essentially submit to him using his casting detect thoughts and probing her mind.
You severely lack the understanding of what it means to be a teammate. But I will allow you this. You can search. But if you search for Yithrin, or if you search for the Netherese, I will cut off our connection as much as I have the power to.
Brennick will nod. That is that is understood.
So when you all take this time to enter into this meditative state and you join with her consciousness, oh my god. Zan, Brannick, and Valine in the same mind. What would you ask? Where would you inquire as you start to delve into her mind?
So I think he would start asking questions about her rivalry with Nas. About the events that led to Nas fleeing with the Professor Orb.
Nas was an extremely gifted student, very young, very talented divination student. Um, I think you've had Dazan kind of share similar information. I think you've had information where Dazan shares that Valine is not gifted. She is wealthy and has made a practice of wizardry through her wealth. And something like Professor Scant backs that up. Um, Already in days of travel coming back from the Solstice Island, you would have different points where a question is posed, and before anybody has time to hear it, Scott has an answer. Professor Scott knows a vast amount of information. Um, the DM, may not be clever enough to know how Valine hides that information, but I think her understanding of her skills would be at least in a false positive sense. That she has a conflated understanding of her skill, that she plays down the role of her money in what she has become. She thinks of herself as powerful, but she also thinks of herself as wronged over and over again by the Arcane Brotherhood. And this was among the first times that they actually honored her. And I think among the other parts to answer at least those first two questions is then that it was supposed to be Avarice, Dazan, and Valine. And Nas came later. And that was almost like one of those moments where it's kind of final straw that the Arcane Brotherhood sent Nas as a babysitter over what are her elders.
Okay, and I think so. As a Brennick is, he's going to ask her some question. He's going to he he thinks about trying to use this opportunity to inquire about some of the stuff. He's going to honor his word not to ask about the Netherreach. I think what he's going to actually try and do is ask some questions about like when because Valina's told him that she doesn't remember anything, after when Knots took control. So he's going to kind of try to ask some questions about that time period and see if she, essentially she like he gets a sense that she doesn't actually recall anything. He's thinking that maybe will give him some uh, confidence or comfort that she's speaking the truth enough to, essentially be satisfied enough to let her, um, look at the book and all that sort of stuff. So I think that's kind of where his questions would be directed after those first initial ones.
Yeah, so I think you could question her a little bit further on some of that time frame. Um, I'm not sure what that would look like inside of someone's mind. If somebody's a visual thinker, if you're gaining visions, if somebody's kind of an auditory thinker, if you're almost like hearing them kind of narrate to themselves. But I think most of what you would kind of pick up is certainly that the memories are hazy. I think from your perspective, they would be unintelligible. Um, and maybe if there's kind of a vision coupled with like an auditory response, kind of like she sees inside of her head as well as almost thinking inside of her head, I think you would have a certain sense that while they still seem entirely like opaque and lost to her memory, things are getting less hazy. Um, that she wasn't an entirely passive observer, but also was in no control and something far closer to like a catatonic state than an active state locked inside of herself. But I think you would find confirming things that she was indeed possessed.
Yeah, so kind of once Brannick is satisfied of that, he will essentially end the connection and give uh, you know a nod to the lean. As promised, I asked nothing about pry, but
What is the wording on that actually? I'm curious. You said it was detect thoughts that you were doing there, right?
yeah. So I was kind of reading that the kind of the bottom part where it says like questions verbally directed at the target, but I guess maybe um, I'd only have a minute, so it couldn't be a super long conversation. I might actually have to.
All right, so I got you. Perhaps what it is more of is you kind of instructing her almost like the chain of memories that you want to experience. And you almost have to preemptively ask it. I was kind of curious because I was curious if she would notice that moment where you like think of Yithrin and then hold yourself back. But I think it makes sense that you're basically asking her to go through the process of thinking these thoughts while you delve into her mind. But it doesn't look like it goes both ways.
Yeah, I think it's not so much a. It's not like the two-way, more telepathic connection. Um,
Yeah, like you can't lead her from inside of there. So yeah, I think that pretty well satisfies the general idea. Um, that you have her memories were clouded and fogged. I forgot what the first chain of reasoning was. Oh, kind of the line of what was going on with the actual agents of uh of the Arcane Brotherhood. But again, I also think that would be far clearer for you. Because again, I like the idea that right now you have Tizan locked inside of your head, and he is mildly on the annoying side of you constantly have this voice just adding stuff to your life.
yeah, I imagine it can be kind of hard to concentrate. So I'm trying to probe into somebody else's mind. Meanwhile, I got something in my head, and been visited by dreams of oral, and it's just it's a jumble. And then with the he's also paranoid about there's people kind of all around him, enemies. He's not a great headspace.
So I think among the things coming out of that little questioning, Valine wouldn't necessarily be looking to rub it in, but also isn't going to move away without recognizing. Um, we have dealt with perhaps only the most initial of threats. And while we've come close to our own, we've been fortunate to not encounter her in a more friendly, close basis. We need to find how we can trust one another before this is all over. I think we will, or we will fail. When you are ready to ask me further about Yithrin, I will answer your questions. But remember, the codicil is all of ours. And perhaps she won't actually say that, depending on where you guys are. If you're in a more private of a place, she'll probably say it. If you guys are in a little bit more like public of a place, she might say something as a placeholder, like, um, like the ermine, the like the fur that makes the outside cover of the book is made of ermine, and she might like reference it as that animal, as if she's speaking of a pet. But I think on some level she would make that kind of point where it's like, you're gonna have to get over yourself. We have to work together. Um, and kind of to the point that she's putting everything out there and is a little bit more open. Um, any other thoughts from you with Velixis? Or pending no other immediate thoughts from Velixis, um, any other places you guys would be uh, inclined to check on in Brinchindar in 10 towns?
Alexis wants to say she can just get a hold of some scrolls, empty scrolls. So she wants to check uh the uh the I think it was the maid shop or the bookkeeper shop, or which I can't remember which one it was for some empty scrolls.
Gotcha. Empty scrolls are paper, so if you have paper for your spell book, you have empty scrolls. But if you would like to stop off and visit, God, I always forgot what I named him.
Oh, Akalos.
Yeah, there we go. Trying to see it. Oh, there we go. He's in my NPCs list for Brinchindar, but he doesn't click back to Brinchindar. That's weird. But yeah, you guys could certainly visit the actual scribes location that was to the southeast and like across the street from Akalos's tower is destroyed. I would say effectively there is no Valium there to be purchased. It might be the type of thing where a scribe survived, but I feel like pretty much everything the scribes would do is essentially flammable. I think even with Valium, it's so thin and there's so much kind of fat in that flesh that it would burn almost like paper with oil on it.
Oh God, that sounds like it's something that would just smell horrible the entire time it's burning. It's like you're looking at like, is this actually paper burning or is this something else? Is this a body?
It would smell like flesh burning, which smells like hair burning, which is definitely one of the most foul smells you will ever come across. Um, but if you ever have an opportunity to go to a tannery and actually smell the smell of tanning leather, that is a whole other kind of horrid smell in itself.
Oh God, I'm gonna have to put that on my bucket list. But yeah.
But
Okay.
effectively, Velium is already like a stable. Velium is like leather, but it's paper thin. It is essentially like see-through paper. You can almost see like the veins in it. Like on some level, they're meant to be kind of scraped clean, but that's where you get like the look of. I feel like parchment is often faking the look of Velium, where it's like fleshy still. You can see that. Um, but I don't think there's any reason to say Akelos' tower would not be present to where you guys could go visit with Akelos. You could buy paper from Akelos. Um, he's not gonna not get a premium on it for you because he is still importing it from water deep, even if he's like walking in one door and out the other to do this. So I'd say probably 10% over PHB prices per piece of paper that you need to purchase.
Brannick, I think, is actually going to avoid going into the tower because he's paranoid. Um, you know, somehow Aklos is going to know he's got the codicil on him, or he's like, you know, he's working with, you know, the Arcane Brotherhood. So I think Brannick is going to stay out.
Gotcha. And Valine does not fit inside of there. So it's really Valixis and Fen.
And Valixis feels like with that thought process, Valixis honestly feels like he probably already knows that we have it. So yeah, she is going to go in to try to purchase a few papers from him. Um, and while she's there, she does ask, "Do you have a anime undead scroll that I may be able to purchase from you? If not, then she figures she'll wait till she has the ability to learn it."
I think a level 3 spell scroll, if he even had it, is going to be something like 5,000 gold.
I need to open me up my own merchant shop. Gold is hard to come by here. We need a thief.
This campaign was never meant to get you rich, guys. You are in the middle of a icy tundra wilderness where they don't use coin.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah.
You guys came across a dragon horde at some point. You did nothing about it.
Was I here for that? Wait, I was. Wait a minute. Okay, yeah. Would Villixes remember that horde though? Like where it was?
Yeah, I'd say you're looking at probably at least 600 gold, if he even had the scroll already for a animate dead. What kind of coin do you have on you right now?
That's,
You kind of broke up there. What kind of coin do you have on you?
Oh, that's what I said. I'm checking that real quick because it doesn't come up on my screen, so I'm pulling up another one.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, I think Brannick has a little over a hundred. Well, he's got like 150-ish. But is the fact is Valine look or Valixis is looking for that scroll? Is that something that she would share? Like before they went inside, because Brannick's not in the tower.
She only has 200, and with the anime dead, she probably with what's going on, she would not share that. That is something she would actually keep secret.
Gotcha.
So she has 200 gold, so she can to purchase for use half of it to purchase for paper. Um, but she doesn't have enough for the scroll, so she's opting to try to wait until she can learn the anime dead spell, or by some other chance she comes across it. How much more did you say it would cost for the upcharge for the parchment paper?
10% markup right now. Might not have come through. Are you just looking for pen and ink for copying your spells?
Yeah, pen, ink, and paper, and that's it. If there's none, because he doesn't have enough anything else.
But your point is for copying your spell book.
Yeah, for copying my spell book and
Gotcha.
making squirrels.
Gotcha. Yeah, so you can write down effectively, you can purchase 90% of what you spend in gold. Um, I think as far as rare inks go and good paper, um, there's no reason not to pull that information just from what they have in the player's handbook. Um, no, that's exactly what it says in your actual character sheet. Just write down right now that you have 100 gold worth of fine ink and paper. Um, and then every time you copy down a spell, you need to remove gold equal to the right amount. Because it says that in your actual like wizard table, I feel like. Because that's where it says you have to spend a certain amount per level of the spell.
Yeah, and it's like it's halved for your own school, like for like student evocation spells are cheaper.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's just an arbitrary number of basically money you have invested into your spell book, you spend it, and then you just have to make sure that you have effectively ink and paper in that bank for when you would run low. But that's definitely all for you to do on your own upkeep. Anything else at present?
Nope. Aside from that, that's all she pretty much wanted.
Gotcha. So day by day, anything that distracts you all, Valine is going to kind of push you all back towards Yithrin is at hand. We need to go after the Netheril. There's no telling when the other students of the Arcane Sanctuary will go, or the Arcane Brotherhood will go after these things. You need to not waste any more time. Um, any level of time waste or any level of time spent is time wasted to her at present. But as far as things go, she will constantly try to push you all further and further to the east. I think if you guys Probably spending like 3 or so days at the minimum, crossing 10 towns. You would probably be heading from Bryn Shindar up to the northeast, and heading, yeah, I think heading towards Caer Konig. What kind of thoughts do you all have when you go to leave 10 towns? Do you want to leave through Caer Konig, or would you like to leave through East Haven? Do you have other thoughts, like going up to Termalaine and going the long way around Kelvin's Cairn?
I think so. Brannick is kind of in agreement with Valine that he wants to hurry, so he's probably for taking the most direct route they can. He'll want to, the more like kind of the more time that we were spending in Bryn Shandar, like around people, like he's definitely, it seems like he's less and less comfortable, kind of always looking over his shoulder. He's much prefers sticking to you know maybe even if when we're passing by the towns, essentially not stopping if we can help it. Just getting out, kind of on our way as quickly as possible.
Does that sound around where Valixis is, or do you want to go a little deeper into these towns?
Uh, Venus has the papers that she wanted. She would suggest going a little deeper to check on everyone else. But if everyone else is against stopping in the towns, then she wouldn't fight it since literally saying everybody's trying to rebuild here. So she's figuring that everyone is doing the same thing anywhere else that they're currently at right now.
All right. Do you guys think Don's going to break the tie?
I feel like he would want to go ahead and continue onward.
Yeah, I think he'd be probably more siding with Brannick and Valine.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So yeah, pushing through. Go ahead.
Oh, so I was going to say, if only more for the fact that that probably doesn't. There's not really much not really anything we can do to help these people. Like we'd really more just be getting in the way almost.
So, doing what you all can to effectively avoid as much of the 10 towns as you can probably find yourselves crossing closer to the Dwarven Valley than you do towards the actual towns, sticking close to Kelvin's Cairn than you do to the lakes, and getting out into the wilderness with little fanfare beyond that initial kind of search for the priests inside of Bryn Shindar. And I think you all can start to pick up bits and bits more information from Valine, sharing that you all are effectively going to be following the source of the rivers that feed the lakes of Icewind Dale, and that you are looking for the frozen waterfalls that mark the entrance to um, the glacier. I think that's enough to say at this point. Um, that as far as they understand, and this would be just as much relayed through Scant and kind of his own knowledge sources. Like, she knows, but asks him to get a little bit more authoritative of an answer. But effectively, you all are learning as you get closer and closer. These waters will come from a waterfall that used to flow over the glacier. That waterfall, if it was opened back up and no longer frozen across this split in the glacier, would give access to the city of the Netheril. Giving you all that next location is to start to search into the presence of these waterfalls for the entrance where the rhyme would go. Among things exploring the rhyme, I think you all would come across some of the more horrific uh, chants and evocations of the children of Arl. Among the things listed in the Codicil of the White would be the ritual of like sacrificing somebody to a conflagration of fire and effectively giving them away to the cold eternity of Oral. Um, you would have the actual rhyme of the Frost Maiden, which is the spell she used to keep the sun from rising, and which apparently was used to seal this glacier. I think you would find some of these spells used for the like more mundane sacrifice of food, some of the spells for the more mundane sacrifice of fire, but effectively coming through the conclusion that that spell book is effectively the spell book for the cult, the Children of Arl. Um, and I think those are going to be kind of the big skips where we'll start to get to a little bit more normal time frame kind of situation here. Um, I have oh man, I've got the destruction of 10 towns was about the 22nd. And I think I had you guys at the end on the island on the 4th. So I think we're going to put this right about probably the 13th of Kithorn, as you all will come face to face with the glacier in front of you.
So Brannick is. Oh, go ahead.
I mean, you can go ahead. My bad. I was adjusting something else. That's why I was silent there.
Oh no, I'm just gonna say like yeah, Brannick is like once we're at the glacier, he's ready to start looking for these this waterfall area that Valine has kind of told him about.
Okay. Gotcha. So when you guys are approaching these areas, again, to set the scene, the sun has been rising for the last, I think this is 9 days of sunrises. Four so of those you all were on Engajuk. After probably the first, you would at least recognize and you could kind of ask to be on the surface around sunrise, so you guys could kind of actually manage those views, as psychologically speaking, after the long night, seeing the sun rise is an incredible experience. And it does a lot for the actual like slow building dread of a place like this. But you guys would be into kind of a week of sunrises. It would be starting to lose some of that luster. It would be becoming a little bit more normal. As far as things go, you all are theoretically approaching summer. You are between spring proper as Myrtle and the actual summer month of Flame Rule is kind of into like the true summer. So Kithorn is kind of like a rainy spring like month. Still cold, still windy, still a lot of blizzard conditions, but you can already start to see that the blizzards are less and less frequent. There's less like a constant threat of blizzard, and you're starting to get a little bit more traditional kind of weather patterns that you would almost expect up here during a winter, even though it is approaching summertime. So this would be a daytime. This would be one of the first times that you all actually have a view for some distance. You would have seen the massive cliff face of the glacier from some miles away. You all would have to have something like snow goggles that are effectively like a slit through leather. So you're seeing such a tiny little bit because of the snow blindness of looking at white snow underneath the sun's rays. All of these things would kind of be coupling in to when you guys are going to come over a final rise where looking up, you can see almost craning your head back kind of 60 degrees. You're starting to lose the ability to see the top of this cliff face of the glacier. It's approaching 3+ hundred feet above you all as you're kind of looking up. One of those things where the size kind of gets unfathomably large. Um, Among perhaps the first thing that your eye would be drawn to is the fact that you are next to humanoids. There are approximately 10 humans who are ahead of you all, and they are almost approaching you all from the glacier, which is probably still a few hundred feet yet remaining away. But what sort of thoughts do you all have coming across this rise where you would see humans?
So Brannick's first instinct is to kind of shrink it back a bit, like instinctively his kind of hand goes to kind of like the over the codicil, and he's like almost got see like an almost wild-eyed look come into his like face, and he like kind of sees these people approaching from a distance. Damn it, they found us.
And Alexis, what is your reaction as you see these humanoids?
Velix will actually approach them slowly and introduce herself.
Gotcha. So as you all see them within the first few moments of seeing them, you're going to see as one of these figures raises its hand high above its head and kind of opens a palm in a gesture of greeting. As Felixis starts to approach, these people are going to approach to you as well. And within a few moments, your groups will kind of connect together where everybody is kind of coming around to gather together. Are you hesitant to mingle, Brennick, or are you avoiding them? Are you kind of moving into the group with a little bit more comfort?
So I think once he sees Felixis going forward and seeing them, the raised hand, he's still suspicious, but he will kind of follow after, maybe hang back a little bit, like he'll be uh, um kind of like coldly cordial, but he kind of doesn't say much, kind of standing around in the background a bit. And it's almost weird because he's feeling like wants to try and like protect the thing, like not let them know it's there, but then that means he can't like kind of touch it to reassure himself. So he's kind of like trying to um adapt uh a more kind of uh not really friendly demeanor, but cordial demeanor.
Brennick needs his pocket. So as you kind of hesitate to actually like mingle into this group, you are going to see as the most center of their figures who's got his hand had had his raised hand had had his hand raised. Yeah, there we go. Is going to approach before the others as they kind of almost fall in behind him. You will see this figure kind of coming forward. Open skin, kind of in the snow. You can see slight signs of it being pink, as if it's bitten by the cold, and perhaps this person ignores it. Some furred clothing on them, very quickly identifiable, though, as a nature servant and a bit of a shaman or a druid, of kind of the nature manipulation of magic. This is going to be somebody who approaches with intention and very quickly kind of looking down to Valixis as you approach. We have been expecting you. I am Yana, shaman of the Elk tribe. Tidings have come of your journey, and we have come to see your success complete. And they are going to bow as the other figures behind them follow suit and bow to you all. It wouldn't be uncommon for you all to be kind of recognized and pulled aside by some of the humanoids that you encountered inside of the 10 pounds. This person is still um, you're going to have those little clues where they were waiting for you to arrive here. You didn't tell anybody. The last time you saw the Elk tribe was in one of those tests. You don't recognize any of these people from that excursion. Little things that kind of show you that this person has at least some other source of information that is at present beyond you all. But effectively, they will introduce some of the other people who are more or less just other volunteers of the Elk tribe who have come here to support you. They hope to be able to help you in your endeavors. And while they seem vastly ignorant of what that means, they are forthcoming in the recognition, especially to you, that they are laying their lives down for you to save all of the lives of Icewind Dale. Um, what kind of thoughts go through your heads at this kind of greeting, and effectively what comes out as sort of like a premonition of the future, but it's aligned with the future you almost have planned for yourselves?
Uh, Valixis would be a little bit would be surprised that the people knew that they were coming. Um, she would then quickly, nervously say, "No, don't bow. You know, we are not kings or gods. Um, I thank you for having us. And but if I may inquire, how did you know we were on our way? I don't think we've seen anyone following us. At least not that we spotted."
I think Jenner would kind of look to you and almost just patting your shoulder. Not all things must be experienced from within. Sometimes opening yourself to the world speaks. Tigers with ice in their veins have come to spill your blood. Seeing the same signs, they come to thwart you. Seeing the same signs, we come to help you. They will do everything in their power to keep you from seeing what it is that Arl has hidden underneath the ice. We will do everything in our power to show thanks for your efforts. And he's going to look up to the sky in ending Arl's ride. And then kind of looking back to Velixis. You cannot do great deeds and not find yourself far more diverse, deserving than that of a king who is born upon a throne.
The Melissa was fine. Well, be that as it may, I'm okay with you not bowing or anything like that. It feels weird. Um, and we are more than welcome to help y'all with this situation because I do feel like what Or has done to this land and to the people is definitely wrong. Even if for some she did provide, but to do to others and do for some and not for all is definitely wrong.
I don't think they have an answer to that. If they do, it's probably going to be something along the lines of, who are we to judge the actions of a god? As things progress, when you all start to move closer and closer, closing in on the glacier ahead of you as it rises higher and higher above you, um, eventually you all are going to follow the frozen stream bed up into a section of the glacier where you can see this massive glowing clear blue that shows you kind of an instantaneous freeze. This pure water, lacking any imperfections, it freezes with a clarity that very quickly brings back the actual experience of some of those blue statues that you saw on the island of Solstice, and recognition that this is an extremely abnormal form of frozen ice. And within 60 or so feet of this area, as you all are kind of preparing the ritual, there is going to be a loud war cry from the actual wall, and approximately 15 or 20 humanoids are going to start running at you all from the frozen wall. What would you all like to do?
Brannick's immediate thought is to um, blow them away. He's going to just essentially move to start casting something at the approaching.
Gotcha. So you probably have about 15, 20 figures. Most of them are essentially in line side by side, about 10 or so feet apart from each other, as they are starting to charge forward towards you all from about 30 to 50 feet at any given person. Um, Probably has your group by a couple, but effectively you all are similar sized groups at present. Um, is Valixis responding at all to this apparent hostilities?
Um, I feel like she would be surprised by the influence coming down. Um, but she would try to take a quick glance to see if there was more of the elk tribe.
Wait, you said you are surprised that this is going down and you are looking to see if they are members of the elk tribe?
Essentially, yeah, like she was caught off guard by the people coming down the wall, but she assumed she didn't immediately think it was a threat. She thought it was more of the elk tribe.
All right, got it. So effectively, you are going to be surprised here, and suffer from a surprise, effectively round as far as things go. What is Brannick beginning to cast?
So Brannick is like, as he like they're letting out this cry and starting down, he's like he's gonna almost like shout out like you will not stop me, and he is moving to try and cast a fireball into the essentially right into the center of this group.
Gotcha. Let me get initiative from the two of you, please. Alrighty. So as they start to charge forward towards you all, there is going to be a volley of spears as they are running forward, and as they release them, they are going to. Let's see. Let me have each of you roll a D100, please. All right, so as they huck their spears into the air and they start to rain down, there's definitely a few injuries from your side. Two of the soldiers who came with Janir will fall to the ground with a couple of spears into themselves. And that will take us to go for Brennick.
All right, yeah. So Brannick is kind of throwing his arm out again, like shouting, like "You will not stop me!" and casting fireball.
Yes. So as you blast them with a fireball, you're going to hit a few of them, three, maybe four of them. One might have been able to get mostly clear of the damage, but you can certainly land a fireball in the center of probably about four of them, and be pretty effective against them. Anything else from Brannick as they are closing in on you?
I think he'd be essentially backing up, trying to keep as much distance as he could from their approach. So move. It's like kind of essentially trying to move back 30 feet or so, but that's it otherwise.
Gotcha. So there is going to be a return volley from the elk tribe. They too are going to be able to take out two of these assaulting you, trying to pick out some of the ones that Brannick has already hit. They will reduce the opposing numbers. When it comes around, Genir is going to look to you all and offer up their lives again, to the effect of kind of yelling out in combat. Make your way for your end. We will defend you. We will hold the entrance. Go. Find what you've come for. And kind of with a bow is going to turn around, and you see as this bow kind of coincides with Genier starting to form their arms into hooves, and as his head kind of bows down, you see as the hair that kind of folds forward with the gravity starts to come up as it is no longer following gravitational force and forms into these many pronged antlers, and Genir charges into the opposing group as a large elk. And it's gonna go back around to um, coming from the others, another round of spear volleys as they're starting to close this ground. They'd be getting near into melee with the general elk tribe and yourselves. But let me get another D100 from each of you, please. So Brennick, we're gonna have you get hit here. You're going to take 11 piercing damage as one of these spears rain down from above. One more of the elk tribe is going to fall. And then it's going to, I think from the opposing side, you will see another figure who is going to change shape in a very similar way. Them taking the form of a wolf. Oh, wait, no, my bad. This is Tiger Tribe. Them taking the form of a tiger are going to leap into Genir, and you're going to watch while the two of them definitely kind of like stomp into and over some of the other people. In general, you're going to watch as these two kind of take to combat. Um, and then that's going to bring us to Valixis. What are you thinking?
I was pushing down on my computer instead on my phone. Valixis here that I'll try to tell them to go ahead and move forward, that they will defend. Um, she would actually fight back and throw out a magic missile to the nearest enemy closest to her.
Level 1.
Yeah, it'd be a level 1.
Gotcha. Roll 4d4. Can you roll right now, or do you need? Oh wait, yeah, you rolled the D100. Can you roll 4d4? Oh wait, it's 3 at level 1, isn't it? I think it's 3.
So
Yeah.
84.
I did not hear you there, Rashad.
So I need to roll a 3d4.
Yep, roll 3d4 for that magic missile. You can watch as these missiles smack into one of your enemies, and while they're definitely effective, um, it doesn't seem to be terribly effective against them. But you are welcome to continue up the fight. It's going to go to Brennick. Right now, Valixis is in trying to assist them. What would Brennick like to do?
Yeah, so Brennick, kind of hearing Janier's words, is going to kind of like turning and shouting to Valixis, like, come on, and he's going to um grab the codicil and try to he wants to go and try and complete the ritual. Do we have an idea of how long it takes? Is it just like a single casting, or is it like a protracted process? Do we have any idea?
It's not even a spell. It quite literally is that poem. You
Oh,
are
gotcha.
approaching it and basically reciting that poem.
Yeah, so Brannick is going to try to do that. If he is in if he's kind of like surrounded within melee range, he would probably use a misty step to get try to move himself closer to it and kind of out of immediate combat as he's beginning to read the poem.
Misty Step is definitely the safe way for you to get out of and leave any danger behind you.
Yeah, so he would do that, and he's almost like you kind of almost hear his words starting as he before he even kind of reforms fully at uh the new spot, like 30 feet away from where he was. But that's otherwise that's what he's focusing on. Like he wants to, yeah, read this poem. You know, essentially, you let the elk defend them.
I don't know why I had gladiators filled out as what most of these people are, and not tribal warriors. Tribal warriors are not nearly as tough as a gladiator. Um, so let's see. The fireball would have killed, I think, five of them. The magic missile would have killed another, and then their volley would have killed probably like three more. So I think right now the sides are starting to look a little bit closer. Right now there are about nine on the side of the elk, and there's about 13 on the side of the the tiger tribe. Um, I think you are going to follow up with another volley from the. Wow, the elk tribe's going to close into combat here as they start to cut into the others. You'll see another soldier kind of taking a death blow and crumbling beneath one of the elk tribe. You'll see Janir again fighting against that wolf, and those two are in a pretty pitched battle. And it's going to come back around. A couple of casualties on each side, back around to Valixis. Are you holding to the combat, or are you leaving it behind?
Is going to actually. She's holding to the combat. She's going to start using. She's starting to use cantrip. She's going to throw a firebolt at a nearby enemy.
Oh,
Um,
my bad. I didn't make you guys save on that one. Each of you roll a d100 for me. Brennick, yours is going to be a much different result. Yeah. You're still asking for it, though, Brennick. I'm going to say, Brennick, you are going to get a hit again. I think because of my gladiator mistake last time, yeah, I'm not even going to do more damage to you because these actually do like 5 damage instead of 11 when they hit. So the 11 you've taken is for these 2 rounds, is what we'll call it. As you take another spear. Um, my bad there, Rashad. What were you going for?
She's going to throw a fireball at a nearby enemy while keeping her distance from um, everyone.
All right, they ran to you. So what are you hoping to do to keep your distance? Are you trying to get to Brannick? Like theater of the mind is you can do what you can to keep their distance, but you're not staying in the melee. You have to make a decision whether you are going to like run away and you're heading back like west towards Ten Town, run like far to the south, far to the north, or are you running towards the east and Brennick? But like the fight came to you. So staying away just isn't a solution here.
Oh yeah, nah. If the fight's that close, then I'm going to throw a fireball out at the cluster that's before me, and then retreat back towards where Brennick and everyone else is.
How many people can you protect right now? Is it a level 3 fireball? So 4 people?
Yeah. So wherever the cluster is of enemies, she's positioning it to not hit as many allies, and if any allies is caught in it, she's going to protect the maximum amount of allies that she can.
Gotcha. You can get 4 people inside of it. No, 3 people inside of it. One of um 3 hostiles inside and 1 friendly, who you can protect. So roll the damage. 8
It could be what,
d6.
80.
Yeah, great minds.
What y'all say?
We started to say 8d6 at the same time because we weren't sure if you could roll it from D&D Beyond.
Oh yeah, that finally came up too. So I'm just like, yay.
Yeah, I think 2 of them are going to be consumed by the fire as they are leaping out of it. Another one completely unprepared for it as they are battling against your elk friend, who is shielded by the fire, is going to be consumed. Um, Pretty solid moment of turning the tides here. Brennick, what would you like to do? Are you going full into the actual use of the rhyme of the Frost Maiden?
Yeah, I think Brannick is. I guess first question: should I, since I was kind of hit, should I like roll a concentration check to see if I kind of keep my place after getting kind of?
For what it's worth, I'm hesitant to say it even takes 2 turns. I feel like 2 is probably a more solid understanding. But as far as things go, it is not described as a spell to me. It is described simply as the rhyme. Um, and that to me makes me hesitant to make you have to risk suffering further than just giving up action economy here, if that makes sense.
Okay, well, I wasn't sure like if it was like it had to be read in one go or like
Yeah.
if I get.
The way it's described inside of the actual module is that that is a poem. Um, it specifically calls Frost Fingers the only spell inside of that book. it calls the rhyme a poem, and then it says it describes some of the rituals of the followers of Arl. So that's why I say, like, I'm hesitant to say that it's even like a spell form. Um, it's a very weird gray area, I feel like, but no need to roll a con save on this. You can definitely hold at least enough attention to continue forward with it uh, if you would like to, and go forward from there.
Yeah, I feel like at this point, Brennick's like attention is solely focused on this. Like he's almost unaware beyond like a very basic sense of like what's happening behind him or around him. So I think he's just like now that he's started it, he's just trying to finish it, almost like oblivious to his surroundings.
So, as you chant and read the rhyme of the Frost Maiden, um, would you want to read it out loud, or would you rather if I did?
I can try to read it out loud, sure.
I swear I made this as a handout for you guys, but I don't see it here.
It's in the description in the inventory, so I can read it. I'm not a poet, so we bow to she who wears the crown. The world shiver with dread. Clad in winter's whitest gown, her snow enshrouds the dead. Her fury sheds but frozen tears as gray clouds issue forth. Her wind across the wasteland shears, bringing blizzards from the north. Ice-kissed flowers caught mid-bloom, beauty kept in all its grace. Summer's gone to its silent tomb, stilling in her cold embrace. All the world in winter's white, sheathed in sleet and ice, set upon never-ending night, conjures paradise. Behold her everlasting rhyme, see how it covers all. Weep not for those she traps in time behind her glacial wall. Sovereign of summer's lost, general of winter's war, long live the queen of cold and frost, may she reign forevermore.
And as you finish the rhyme, you are going to watch as the glacial wall that forms from this massive waterfall that is frozen in front of you. There is going to be a kind of vision of a young maiden, and she's going to step from the ice, made entirely of the ice herself. And as there is a thunderous crack and disintegration of thousands and thousands of pounds of ice that just extends up this 100+ vertical foot of cliff face here, as there's just this massive crack and all of that ice starts to shatter. It is going to rain down, and where you saw this blue female figure, I think each of you could recognize as Arl from your dreams. You're going to watch as these like chunks of ice crash down into the ground where she once stood, and before you, you are going to see that there is a icy entrance ahead of you into the glacier that continues forward, and you will see just beyond it starts to head down deep into the ice.
The Brennick, like, yeah, as this is happening, it's probably like almost kind of like standing in kind of awe for a few moments before then maybe like as the ice starts raining down, he starts rushing towards the this opening.
So there is a slight lull in the action as all of the humans of the reg nomads kind of like have this paused moment before they return to their bloodshed. All of them recognizing on a different level the power at which you command. Some of them recognizing the presence of Arl, even if it is just for a split second. Um, in the next few moments, you're going to see as the elk tribe pushes, making some headway into the tiger tribe. I think as it comes around to Genir's going to yell again to you all to run to make your way inside. They will hold the exit for you, and yeah, I think that kind of takes you all back to it's once again on you, Valixis. What would you like to do?
Uh, seeing that, looking back, seeing that Brennick has gotten the entrance open, she does starts running towards Brennick, so that she can make it inside.
Alrighty, so we have you all at the entrance to the Red Glacier, having used the rhyme of the Frost Maiden to crack through this old ocean, not ocean, old stream river that filled Lake Dineshire to the south of you. You're looking on, and you see cold ground, ice falling down into the abyss as if it were falling as natural stairs, a ceiling 15 feet above you, sometimes 20, icicles like stalactites growing from the ceiling, some stalagmites growing up from the floor itself. And you're going to start to notice that this cave, this entrance, this was here. What exploded was only a wall, it was only a barrier. And it won't take you too long starting to walk down the stairs before you notice that there are more artifacts. Uh, Approaching the base of these stairs, you all would start to see wood strewn about the floor. What kind of first thoughts do you all have as you are? As well, to the bottom of the stairs would probably be about the end of light for you all. But what sort of thoughts do you all have as you enter into and then start exploring this little cave of frozen ice lost to time?
So Brannick is going to kind of, as he moves towards the stairs, he's going to light up a torch if it's not too windy to keep it lit.
Inside of the cave, you can certainly find enough stagnant air to light yourself a torch.
And he's going to probably looking at some of these pieces of wood strewn about. Is there any way to tell what it might have belonged to? Like, does it look like it's from a like a wooden structure, or is it like smaller pieces of wood?
Are you trying to take the look from this distance, or are you going to approach any closer as you're kind of looking for it?
Oh,
I
he would
would
start.
say top of the stairs, you're probably outside of view of it. But like towards the base of the stairs would be the first chance that you could try to assess from that distance.
Sorry, yeah, he would have been heading down the stairs, probably trying to move carefully, assuming there might be slippery.
Gotcha. On some level, I should have you guys making the decisions here for Fen, as well as I think I should still have you all with Valine. Um, like, I mean, she's with you, but I mean, like, as you guys using her as an NPC. So, are you guys going to explore? Like, is Brennick going to be the explorer? Oh man, that's such a weird way to ask it. I feel like you almost have to. I don't know if we can explore with Fen while he's off. Oh, it's so tough. Um, I feel like we're somewhere in there where you can and cannot explore with Fen. I don't know what the good answer to that is.
I mean, I think honestly, Brannick is, knowing kind of where they are. He's like pretty excited, so he would be more
Gotcha.
willing than normal to be in the front. Yeah,
You have plenty of motivation.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Gotcha. So as you guys are moving here, Felixis, are you following right behind Brennick? Are you kind of holding towards the back? Should we assume right now that there's just going to be an order for this next given amount of time? What kind of thoughts do you have, Alexis?
She's following close behind Brennan, pondering how long this place has been down here.
And I feel like Valine would be similarly kind of anxious to press forward, and maybe at the beginning, almost. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Rashad.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, go ahead. Continue. I'm just, I'm be stepping away for like a second.
And I was going to say almost maybe it makes sense to have Fen almost serving as like a rear guard just in case some Tiger Tribe people try to follow in after through the entrance. So kind of like keeping an eye out behind us as we start moving forward. But I feel like Valine would be right up there with Valixis and Brannick.
This is such a fucking weird party. Three wizards, one of them is a giant, and there's just a monk who's over there, like, kicking it. So by the time you get to the bottom of the stairs, with your mage hand kind of floating the torch near you, maybe starting to move it out closer if you so desire here. This might be around when you're kind of making that decision. You're going to start to see that these like scraps of wood are getting larger and larger into this kind of not shallow, like flattened out, open, kind of bulbous cavern. You're starting to see the roofs come up into higher and higher stalagmites of ice, but the wood itself is getting into larger chunks before you see that it's planked wood, and then eventually you're going to see the first signs that there is a bow of a ship in front.
So Brannick will kind of, as he starts to see this, is going to start moving forward. I think probably the first thing he'd be looking for is to see if he can spot any signs of like a name written anywhere visibly along the. It might identify what particular ship this is, or maybe
Roll a perception check. So, hmm, I think. Have we talked yet about if you recognize the language of the Netherese?
I don't think so. I mean, he might have picked up a word here and there from some of the books that they had found in the spire. If they mention Netherese words, but I don't know if he hasn't. I don't think studied Netherese himself or whatever the language is.
What? You do not, you only have Dwarvish as your non common.
Correct. Although I could, I would have to essentially take
Yeah,
10 minutes.
that's fine. I'm not even trying to get to that. Without actually having thoughts to look up whether Dazan notices or understands the language of the Netheril, I am going to assume for now, at very least, that Dazan can point it out to you as Laros, which is their language. As far as things go, I don't think there is any reason for there to be a noticeable name, but I think we can start with he can recognize, yeah, he doesn't have the languages for it either. But we'll say that he at least has done enough research to recognize the script for it, which is essentially Draconic. So by the time Velixis gets there, Velixis can recognize it as Draconic script, which fits into what you all know of the Larosian language. But I think that's kind of the answer to whether you see a name for the ship. Um, with your perception, you are going to notice these sounds of maniacal laughter. Coming from the tunnels to the east and to the west of where you currently are. It's kind of like an echo that almost like reverberates back on itself. You can't quite spot like where things are coming from, only that like your attention keeps being drawn far enough out. I should have revealed it as well, my bad. Um your attention's kind of drawn from the east down to the west. Seems at least like somewhat to be coming from those two directions. And from where you're at here, I think you can kind of spot that there is a third direction that you can go that seems to head further down, almost like falling off to where you can see the wall looks as if it's a dead end across the other side of this ship.
So I think as he hears this laughter, he's going to kind of like, his head's going to like swivel quickly, in each kind of direction, like as he hears it from the two. Um,
As
he's
you're
kind of
kind
like,
of like looking across to these laughters, Professor Scott's just kind of like floating over near this ship is just going to say out loud, normal volume, "Ah, a sky coach! I've always wanted to ride on one of these. It's a pity it's not in one piece."
and as the professor scanned is saying this, Brannick almost kind of like he tenses up and he does he notice any change in the laughter as the professor Orbs begins talking?
No, not at present.
So I think Brannick will still he'll kind of like looking to the orb, he'll like shut up, may not be alone. And he's gonna kind of look again, kind of almost like wild eyed a little bit in both directions. Um, and I think he'll start moving down towards a professor here.
I didn't actually place him. I didn't. I didn't think to make him his own counter because technically he follows Valine.
Oh, so he was like observing it from back. Okay.
Well, I
Um,
figure on some level everybody's kind of inside of there by now. But yeah, when he gets close enough, he kind of mentions what it is.
yeah, so I think Brandick is going to, um, yeah, just kind of keep moving in. Uh, kind of still always like constantly
So
looking in like both directions.
moving a little bit around to the south side, you can kind of see that there's actually 5 different ways to leave where this ship is. Where you came in, the location to the northwest, a location to the southwest. Same thing kind of to the south of you. You can kind of see like almost a hole like dropping off into darkness, where like the wall kind of curves seamlessly into the ground. Definitely a falling hazard right there. Like it looks like you're just walking. My bad, hit a cough. Looks like you're walking into a dead end. But you can see where your light is not going into the actual ground. Um, you can see a little bit more of the northeast up there, but you basically have the entrance and then 4 other directions. Generally speaking, the like cardinal directions. And there's there just a little cackle to the air.
So Brandick, I think, is still kind of tense, but he's kind of uh, forcing himself to move forward. I think he's going to move towards the um, kind of that one that's heading north west.
Gotcha. Yeah, so as you kind of explore into this direction, um, you'll see you'll see like at least like a little bit of the space kind of opens up ahead, and this tunnel seems to kind of continue on into that direction. Um, you can see a little bit more of where things are heading into kind of that southerly direction, but not too much more as it comes up to kind of a tight like choke point of sorts.
So Brandick will like kind of looking back towards the others. Come on, stay close, stay close. And then I think he'll start moving his way through this corridor, same direction, northwest.
Felix is going to follow closer behind you.
Alrighty, so as you kind of come up to this area here, you're going to see that this little corridor splits into 2 different directions as well. One kind of leads off to the left, another one starts to head off to the right. And you kind of have 2 of these, like ever smaller glassy corridors of ice, and as you get to this turn, you can see that the ice is glowing. There's a soft blue like flicker to this ice. and down at your feet, the ice is not like melting, but it is in that like state right between frozen and melted, and your crampons are biting into the ice, but you can see that it is smooth like glass and reflecting every bit of your fire. Roll a perception check for me, Brennick. There's a little bit of flicker to how the light is glowing and lighting up these halls in front of you. What would you like to do?
When you say a flicker, as in like there may be some additional light coming from a particular direction, or
Well,
like
that's kind of what I was getting to. This whole area is already like lit up ahead of you. You can see all of these halls. When you come to this T, these halls are like glowing blue. But the flicker is like that blue is like flickering. So like this hall is glowing blue. This hall is glowing blue.
gotcha. Okay. I think Brannick is going to gesture, to his like south and left, and start moving forward again. Can he get any sense of how um, thick the ice is beneath him? I guess he's almost kind of like watching his footsteps for like any signs of cracks as he starts moving forward.
I don't think you have any reason to. You're still on top of kind of the same snowpack as the rest of the Red Tundra. Um, I don't think you're. I don't know if you would hear anything different other than something that would be kind of reassuring. There's definitely not cracks to it. There's certainly scraping from your crampons, but I feel like the scrape from crampons would almost be kind of like a comforting, like scratch versus like the high pitch like scream of a crack. It's almost like so frightening that it jumps out different. As far as things go, I'm gonna say I think you can hear the depth of the ice. This is not the type of place where you're wondering whether there's an inch of ice below you. You're wondering whether there's thousands of feet of ice below you.
Gotcha. Okay. Um, yeah, so Brannick will kind of, gesturing to like his southwest. He'll, suggest he start moving down that passageway. Still kind of Brannick still keeping in front.
Gotcha. When you came around to a point where there was other light, are you still carrying your light with you?
Um, is this essentially like bright enough that it's makes the torch superfluous for now?
At very least, moving forward is where there would be the inclination. The kind of break between these lights is almost that intersection you're in.
Yeah, so I think with the idea that, not sure how long we'll be down here, wanting to conserve supplies, I think once there's kind of sufficient light seeming to come from within, he would uh, move to snuff out the torch.
So, as you begin to move a little bit more cautiously around these edges, taking a little bit of an effort to keep yourself a little bit more silent, uh, getting the torch kind of removed from the equation. As you take your time before starting to move, the soft kind of cackle is going to get a little bit louder as you are going to look around one of these corners and start to see the source of laughter. As you turn your head, you are going to see that there is a small skull, roughly the size of a human's, that is floating about 5 feet up into the air, and it's just laughing. Seems to be staring into a corner as it cackles, but it doesn't seem to have noticed you at present.
Does
How about
Brannick
that? Did
see?
I actually say that it's on fire? I feel like I skipped that part. It is the source of the blue light. It is on fire.
Okay. Does Brannick see any other openings from where he's? I think as soon as he sees the skull, he'll stop moving.
You could roll a perception check. I think for what it's worth, you can't really tell whether it continues on or not.
Can Alexis peek a little bit into the room and see what it's looking at?
Um, you could certainly try. On some level, those halls are pretty tight, but you could certainly pass by Brennick if you wanted to try to take a look.
Yeah, she's gonna walk past Brannick and look slowly and peek into the room.
What is your stealth modifier on Velixis?
I have to look. Give me 1 second.
Gotcha. No, no bother. +3. Yeah, so I think when you look around, you would have a similar moment where, as you kind of like peeping beneath Brennick, like basically siding up next to his leg kind of thing, looking down this little corridor, you're going to see just a skull. It's floating in air. The blue light that seems to be causing this whole area to glow seems to be coming from these flames that engross the skull, and it seemed to be just looking at the wall in laughter.
Brannick is going to kind of turning towards Alexis, gonna hold up a finger kind of to his mouth, um, then gesture kind of back the way they came, and he's going to attempt to very quietly move back down the corridor.
Gotcha. So you're looking to turn around and head back towards the ship.
Yeah.
Velixis, are you following suit?
That's what I was say.
I feel like we lost you there, Velixis, but that is what you were thinking.
Oh crap! No, I was gonna say Felix's actually turned to Fennec and kind of whispered, "Hold on, I kind of want to look and see what this thing is. It's a floating skull that's on fire. Can we investigate a little bit more?"
Do you want to approach it?
Yeah. After saying that, she kind of turns and slowly starts to approach it.
And how are you approaching it? What are you thinking here?
She's not sure if she should touch it, but when she gets close enough, she does call out to it. She says, "Hello."
Gotcha. Roll a dexterity check for me. If you can't roll right now, I can roll it. Looks like you're out of roll 20 right now. Is that no roll for you?
Oh crap! I didn't even realize it took me out of roll 20. It's still up on my screen. Let me see.
Oh, is it just a glitch for me, maybe? Brennick, do you see him?
I don't see him in roll 20 either.
Gotcha. Yeah, it must have just dropped. But yeah, if you could roll either a dex or a d20.
Nope. Yeah, it took me. It's just dropped for me. Like as soon as I went to do that, the screen went blank.
Gotcha. So as you are approaching this thing and almost like reaching out to touch it, as the kind of like slow heat of it is like building towards your fingertips, you're going to watch as it turns around to face you. And we are going to go into initiative here.
I don't know how far back Brannick would have gotten before this happened, so feel free to put me where it makes sense. I assume you would have been trying to move slowly, quietly as this was happening, so probably not too far behind her.
Do you have a problem with having moved out of there? All right, yeah, you can place yourself where you want to be.
Oh, I no, I just wasn't sure if you wanted me to be closer because I wasn't sure how much time had elapsed between when Brannick started backing away and Blixus went in.
As far as I'm concerned, it's a matter of seconds. If you were all the way out of that room and you moved your full 30 feet, as far as I would be concerned, there is you didn't even notice that Felixus said, "Hold on a second." Um, so it's definitely up to you, like when that happens. So that is perfectly fine if you're kind of right between where I placed you and where you are or where you were. We're going to start off with that there, and we're going to have.
I didn't take any damage in that last fight, did I? For whatever reason, I'm showing I got low health. Like I know I didn't take like that much damage, did I?
Did you long rest after the end of last session? Because we were pretty rough after that.
You know what? That's probably what it was. Because I know we got just did the okay, so I forgot to click that long rest on the 3 days. Yep, because it's still showing the exhaustion level 5 and everything.
Yeah, I think a rest only takes away one level of exhaustion. She might have to take that off manually.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. I got everything set back up. That's my fault. I forgot to click that, but yeah, we're good to go now.
The die roller is in slow motion.
Oh God.
Alrighty, so Velixis, as you turn around to investigate your new friend, you're going to just kind of see as it spins to you, continuing to cackle. You're just going to start to feel your flesh start to burn as from the point where you are, there's going to be an explosion. And Brennick, I need a dexterity saving throw from you, as well as from Velixis. And I'll just roll fens.
Was tempted to use a portent die there, but I feel like no amount of divination would help Brannick to think that Velixis is going to go try to make friends with a skull on fire that's cackling madly.
Yeah, he's got evasion, so if he fails this, he takes it.
I'm not
God,
sure.
that fucking
Did my
die roll
dexterity
is.
save come through?
I do not see one from you. Nope.
Okay, hold on. It's showing on roll 20, so I'm gonna take a picture of what it was.
You don't have to take a picture. Just tell me.
It says I got a 16.
So you will take half damage. Brennick half. Fenn's not gonna take any. And we're gonna go for what is that? 17 damage. 17 damage each. As there is an explosion, and this hall is going to be wrecked. Um, and yeah, it will go to Valine. She can move up there, but she has to squeeze, which makes it difficult terrain, which makes that very difficult for her to do anything. What would you all like Valine to do?
Yeah, I don't feel like Valine is going to want to, after seeing that fireball explode, I don't think she's going to want to go charging in there, especially if she's going to be kind of essentially not stuck, but kind of blocking everything up. Uh,
Stuck adjacent.
and like, I assume it would be kind of like it'd be very difficult for anybody else to get past her way if she goes in there. Yeah, so I think she's probably going to um, maybe back up a little bit in case there's another blast, but I'm not really sure she can really do much. Maybe hold in case like something on something other than Felixis comes out of that tunnel.
Any thoughts from you, Velixis? Does that sound good for you?
Okay, let me see. You said, hold on, I'm sorry. There's a click in here, so I missed a little bit. It sounded like you said that you wait until Valicious comes out of the tunnel as you call for her.
Essentially, Valine holding a spell for anything that is not you.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good.
So, we will go for that. Valine will form those skeletal arms, and it will go to Velixis.
So after that explosion, Valixis is going to kind of cast Sanctuary on herself and proceed to basically ask, "What are you?" Aside from the obvious.
And that's your whole turn?
Oh yes, yes, that's my whole time. Just she casts Sanctuary on herself, and then essentially asks, "What are you?" Aside from the obvious.
What would you all have Fen do?
I mean, I don't know. Part of me feels like Fen would go charging in, trying to help Felixis, but I don't think because he doesn't know really. Brannick hasn't had a chance to tell him yet what they saw in there. But I feel like he's the type to kind of go in. I don't know, Felixis. What do you think he would do?
I feel like he would also try to come in, but at the same time, I feel like he may be cautious because since he does recognize the fireball, he probably wouldn't be sure if it was me that threw it or if it was someone else.
Well, I feel like if he's seeing it hit Brannick, he would have a pretty good idea it wasn't you, because if you had cast it, you would have evocated around. You've seen you cast it enough
That
times, right?
that is true. That is true.
And he too avoided damage from it, so he already knows that it's not sculpted by Felixis. Into the enemy? Is that the conclusion?
Yeah, he would. Yeah, he would definitely probably run in to try to help.
I think he would, when he saw it, if he could, just start trying to hit it.
All right. I think he does an attack. An attack.
I feel like he would try to stunning strike it if he could.
I don't I don't get the stun stuff often. It is definitely not allowed to stun players. It is a cruel thing to take a player out of the game. Um so stunning strike on the actual second one, so I don't break my own rules. The sword will miss. The unarmed strike will hit. Con save from the skull. It is going to continue to move. And what is it? It's taking 14, 24. We'll just do a normal unarmed strike. That's the follow up. No flurry. Oh wait, the sword missed, so that 14 isn't it. 10. So as he smacks into this creature, cracking the skull, you'll see as the bones kind of start to fracture, and they're still holding to the animation. The flame is still sculpted around the skull itself, but it still seems to be laughing with its maniacal insanity. And Brennick, are you still moving away, or are you turning back to return into the fray?
Brennick was moving out, but as he sees Fen rushing in, and I mean, assuming maybe he probably heard Felixus ask the question, he kind of just gives a kind of sharp shaking of his head, rushes back in, and if he kind of comes up seeing behind Felixus, if he can get a sight on this thing, he is going to he's gonna like shout, "Don't talk to it, kill it!" And he's gonna throw out his hand and launch um, a magic missile at first level at the skull.
As you start to mutter your incantation and you start to form your missiles and they sling out of your hand, kind of like leaping across and away from Velixis, and they all kind of start to form to slam into this creature, there's just going to be a force that kind of grows up in front of it. And as each of these missiles sinks into it, it just kind of expands out in light, glowing kind of just in front of the skull by about a foot or so before the light dissipates. And it seems like your magic missile has no effect.
I assume Brannick would have an idea of what just happened, having
Any
used
wizard
similar.
who's used shield or has used magic missile knows that the two are bedfellows.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. And I think that pretty much took all his movement to get there. So I think that's pretty much what he can do.
You all are going to hear from behind the screams of Veline. Oh, I don't have her stat block. AC 18 on Valine? That sounds wrong. Why did I write that down? Give me 1 second here. I'm like, fuck it, I got her in like the game constantly. I should just add her to the character sheet. So she's on there. But that AC seems high. 13. How did I write 18? Felixus, is your AC 13?
Yeah, my AC is 13.
And Brennix is 13?
Normally 13, 16 with mage armor.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've got Brennick 13, Fen 18, Felixus 13, Valine 18. I feel like I got lost in 13, 18, 13, 13. Or 13, 18, 13, 18.
You probably changed it because she grew big. So I mean, giant with more AC, I guess.
No, they don't gain AC though as they get bigger.
I feel like if anything, they would have a lower AC because there's more of them to hit.
Exactly, yeah. Like it's usually part of why giants. It's the same thing why like in this game there are races because they're literally different intelligent beings instead of our world where there aren't races because people made them up. Um, like when you think about a giant, they tend to have a negative dexterity because they're so fucking big, they're easy to hit because they move slow. That was the whole reason why, like, a kobold always had plus dexterity because they're so fucking small, they're hard to hit. So they always had extra dexterity. But yeah, those. What was the first one? Was an 11. That's gonna miss. So she's going to scream out in pain, outside of the view of all of you. And then the creature directly in front of you all. Ooh, I don't get to use this spell off. I typed in blur and a completely different spell came up. Yeah, I think it is going to start to shimmer, as you start to see the like skull is almost separated and there's entire like pixelated kind of areas between this creature that you can't tell if it's directly in front of you, slightly off to the right by 2 feet, or is it 5 feet away to you to the left. You just can't quite tell where that creature currently is, as this kind of like blue flame starts to shimmer through it, and it becomes almost painful to look at. And then let's see, one more. This one also is going to, you'll hear again screams from Valine. And it's going to go to Valine. What would you all like Valine to do? She has two of these creatures on her at present.
Does she have any sort of area of effect spell that might be able to hit both of them?
She could area of effect.
Because I feel like, I mean, obviously she's going to try and uh, lash out at these things if she can without knowing exactly what spell she has. I'm not sure exactly what would make sense for her to cast, but
Yeah, she's got two uses of her fourth level spell. I think this is plenty sufficient enough for her. Um, ooh, I don't know the answer to this yet, so I'm not going to hold back from it. None of you can really see this. I am still not going to describe this spell to you. I'm just going to do the effects of it. Um, I'm sorry. I don't really want to spoil it. This is still kind of the hold off, like, results of you guys not fully embracing Feline, is she's still holding back some of her cards. But she's going to kind of reach out in a way that does indeed attack the two of these creatures.
yeah, that may mean makes sense. Brian doesn't trust her, so yeah, he's not going to trust them.
After that, I was gonna say, I feel like with us being in the other room, she would go ahead and use the spell that she normally wouldn't use since we're not around to actually see it.
Valine's response there. One more is going to come out from the north. And once again, dexterity saving throws from all of you, please.
This time, Brannick's going to use. Um,
By golly, I saw this motherfucker coming.
Yeah, he's gonna go ahead and he's gonna use his 15, which will give him an 18 total on the deck save.
Gotcha. So we're going Fen here. Felixis going with the 7. I'm going to assume yes. No more option. That was kind of me vaguely pointing out that you do have inspiration if you cared to, but I feel like this is plenty reason to say no. Um, Valixis, you are going to take 33 fire damage as a small little mote of blue light centers into the area right beside you all. And as it grows, your flesh starts to burn before this whole area is consumed in fire.
Wait, is my sanctuary? My sanctuary is not on me anymore, is it? It lasts a
I
minute.
never. Nobody has targeted you,
Oh wait, no, this is just from the. Okay, no, this ain't the target. This is the AOE, ain't it? Okay, never mind, never mind.
but didn't you just cast the spell anyways? Which I think would have dropped Sanctuary anyways.
Has it gotten back around to Velixis yet?
No, my bad. Valixis would be the next up.
Yeah, Brannick tried to cast a spell, but and then so Brannick would take what half of 33? Or what? How much was it?
Yeah, my bad.
The
Brennick
16.
and Ben is good. Yeah, you would take 16 with Brennick. Valixis takes 33. Everybody else should be good.
Yeah, so Brannick definitely looking rough after that.
Yeah, what did I do? I feel like I just double clicked over Valixis there. And that's going to take us into Valixis' turn. If you are speaking right now, Rashad, we cannot hear you. At very least for the ambiance, even while all of these explosions are happening. All 4 of these skulls are still cackling.
Okay, so she's not. How close are you? Wait. Okay, yeah, you're pretty close, Brennick. So she would actually reach behind her and touch Brennick on his chest and cast cure runes. I said core cure runes on him at 4th level.
Anything else at present from you? Any movement? Any. Yeah, I think that'll be it.
I let's see. Unless I can care. Let me see. What's this?
I don't think
Yeah,
you
that's
have
it.
anything that is a bonus action, but not a spell.
Yeah, nah, that's it. I don't have anything else.
Fen continuing to knock off that one. Do you guys think Fen would recognize when he has disadvantage to hit something?
I mean, I think he would see it, kind of the blurring effect, but I'm not sure he can essentially move any. I don't think he hasn't seen that other one north of Brannick, right?
He knows of the explosion. I don't think there's any reason to say he's not aware of it. I think
Yeah.
outside of where you guys are, like you don't know what's going on with Valine, other than you've heard her screaming.
Yeah. I feel like maybe Fen would um maybe swing out once with his sword at this thing before, maybe at that point recognizing, it's much tougher to hit, and maybe moving back and spotting the second one above Brannick, maybe finishing up its attack on that one. I don't know if there's anything special about monk attacks where it's better for it to be all against one target or not.
I mean, I kind of sit along the same idea with most characters, where I'd like you to kind of know what your attacks are doing. Um, I'm trying to step away from the idea that you can make one attack and decide, and then one attack and decide. But I definitely think monks, part of their battlefield control is in this situation, like sword attack into the skull he's next to, stunning strike if it hits. Open palm into the other skull, stunning strike if it hits. And then doing the remainder attacks like to that one, kind of regardless. But monk battlefield control falls into I'm going to hit everything I can and give it at least one stunning strike to try to remove it. So does that sound like the plan?
Yeah, it sounds good to me.
That sounds
So
good.
we will go for stunning strike with the sword against the one that is blurred. So this is I did my shit wrong. This did not roll properly before. Type of roll. Always roll twice. Have it set. And then auto roll crit. I think that's already set. Critical hit roll. Force solid hit. Force, I feel like, is going to make it a crit. Okay, auto roll crit. Looks like it's done. So longsword against the one that is blurred. Open palm against the one that is above Brannick. If either of those hit, they are going to be a stunning strike. And then I think just an open palm against the one. What did I do? I clicked the wrong thing for the. Oh, might have been because I was holding Alt. So longsword's going to hit con save. Oh, it gets advantage. His DC I think is 15. Yeah, DC 15. Um, and then the unarmed strike against the second one, same thing, con save. That one as well is going to fail. Both of these skulls are going to cease. Oh, wait a second. Did I check for? Ooh. It isn't gone again. It still has shield. He's going to miss the blurred one. He's going to stun the second one. And then the last open palm into the second one is going to miss. That should take us to Brennick. You have one that is um, blurred and damaged to your left, one that is kind of holding still to your north. What would you like to do?
Yeah, so I think Brennick, as this like kind of skull is like blurring, he's gonna suddenly gonna like almost see in his mind's eye like a perfect moment where it's kind of like see where it is. and he's going to almost like without knowing what he's doing, throw out his hand, launch a firebolt into this thing, and he's going to use his second portent to make it a crit on the blurred one to his left.
Gotcha.
I just figured I'd do that to roll twice for the damage.
Okay, I see what you're doing here. So 21 more. That skull is going to shatter into 100 pieces as it clatters to the ground and the flames snuff out.
And I think Brannick is going to move, trying to get squeeze past Fen if he can.
100%.
Essentially back out in here, and that's when he'll notice the other two with Valine. Heard the screaming, but wasn't sure exactly what was causing it.
We just had Rashad drop there.
Oh,
Alrighty then. When you come out around that corner, that hallway is going to explode again. And it's going to put you, Valine, and Fen to a save. So Fen's is with evasion. If he saves, he's good. Valine, of course. And then for 28 fire damage as that one explodes. That 10 was your save?
yeah.
You guys don't really know where like their DC is, I don't think. But are you holding that? You're just going to take the damage here. It's going to be 28.
Yeah, I mean, I have a vague idea, maybe, but yeah. And then once you said the damage, I feel like it's a little kind of cheap if I then go, oh yeah, I'm gonna. But yeah, I'll take that one.
Well, there's a certain level of I'm also not trying to waste time here, so I am trying to put it out there, and I'm not trying to make you guys suffer for that. There's definitely a part of it where it's meant to give even more for your favor if you guys choose to. Again, you guys know you're coming to the close of this campaign. This is the start of the meat grinder that is to determine whether you guys win in victory or fail in like epic proportions.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily a good time to use it or not. My point is to start making it a regular thing to tell you guys, like, this is where it comes in.
Right. Don't. All right. Not time to stop hoarding them and put them to use. Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. I get it.
So yeah, that one's going to explode. Oh yeah, I was looking at Valine's hit points. She is thrashed right now. That might be a little bit my problem for not having updated that earlier. But taking a full fireball is not an ideal thing. And it's gonna go to that one is dead. This is the other one in front of Valine. I think it's got to do the exact same thing all over again. I think it's a fireball right for the three of you. I don't think there's any way Valine can stay standing from this. So Ben, he's golden. Valine, she passes. And then the damage, and then if you'll make a saving throw as well, so you're good. You'll take half damage, and it is for That was close. But I did not. Oh, wait, I did pass with Valine. This might be enough. So it is 25. So it's 12. Yeah, she is going to fall.
Yeah, Brannick's mortally wounded.